Hey there, everybody. This is Michelle Johnston. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist, and I'm also the owner and founder of a corporate wellness company called Working Well. And today I wanted to address a question that I get asked a lot, and it's a topic that's very, let's say, hot right now in our social environment. And there's a lot of misinformation about it. And so today I wanted to talk just a little bit about gluten. So what about gluten? Is it something that you should be avoiding in your diet completely? Is it something that's harming your health? Is it something that you're okay to eat? So I thought it would be a great thing to discuss. Aside from being asked if I'm a vegetarian, that's the question I get asked most, especially when people are having us over for dinner. I am not a vegetarian. I do eat animal protein, but I definitely respect people's choices and reasons for being either vegetarian or vegan. It's just not how I practice in my life. And second to that is I get asked a lot about gluten. And one of the reasons I wanted to make this video is because I have a sense that people think because I am a holistic nutritionist that I am in favor of people giving up gluten containing grains such as wheat, rye, barley, spelt, kamut. Those are sort of offshoots of what we would typically see as wheat. And I hate to be put into a stereotype where people think that I automatically assume that my advice would be everybody should stay away from gluten. That is actually not my advice. So I wanted to make this video to just kind of set the record straight on that and to give you some really good information and some things to think about. So people who absolutely need to be on a gluten-free diet are individuals with celiac disease. And it's such a small portion of our population that would have that disease. And those people can absolutely not have any gluten. Well, what is gluten? Gluten is a protein that's found in the grains I mentioned earlier, for example, wheat. And it's what makes products or food that we make with wheat kind of hold their form. It's kind of like the glue that keeps it all together. I love words that sound like similar to what they do or what they are. So glue, gluten, that kind of thing. So it's a protein that for individuals with celiac disease, when they consume even the most trace amount of that particular protein, it does damage to their health. And how does it do damage to their health? Well, the majority of the absorption from our food happens in our small intestine. And that might be, I don't know, maybe it's surprising to some of you, maybe it's not. I think it's kind of cool. I think we have a lot of misinformation about what happens in our digestive system and where. But in your small intestine, it's about 7 to 13 feet long, depending on the individual. And it's loaded with surface area. And so in the small intestine, let's say my arm is the small intestine. It's a muscular sort of tube. On the surface of the small intestine, there are these villi, which really just translates into finger-like protrusions. And by adding those villi onto the surface area, you can see that we increase the surface area of our small intestine. And now we can absorb more through the increased surface area. And then what's interesting is on top of the villi, there are even smaller finger-like protrusions. Now my fingers don't show the scale, that pop out on top of that, and they release enzymes that allow some of the digestion to take place more effectively. So what happens with individuals with celiac disease is if they've been exposed to gluten at all, over time, the villi, which actually help with the absorption of food, get worn down as such, and the surface area is decreased, but also we lose those microvilli the brush border enzymes that help us with our food absorption. And these individuals can experience really horrendous symptoms, and they can be quite sick. Something that's really interesting, or a story that's interesting, someone we know has celiac disease, and she had a sip out of one of our friends' coffee. Now that friend had just eaten something with gluten in it. I think it was a bagel or something like this. And she wanted to just, oh, that smelled good. Maybe there was some kind of something in the coffee that was different. And that caused this individual to have extreme abdominal pain and bloating, and this person was sick for a number of days afterwards. So it is very severe if a person does have celiac disease. So what about this gluten-free trend? Well, you will hear some individuals say that they feel everybody should remove gluten from their diet. And here's where I wanted to set the record straight about how I think about gluten. It's interesting to understand that, or it's important to understand that I have a background in social science. I studied anthropology and archaeology at university, and it was just an awesome experience. And it's as if my brain was meant for that mode of processing. And so what we know archaeologically and socially, social culturally, is that bread and wheat have formed the backbone of societies for the last 10,000 years with the agricultural movement. And so when you see bread show up and be just a massive staple in every population, you have to wonder if it's really that bad. So I do think bread and wheat are important, but I don't, and I do think that wheat specifically can cause individuals to have discomfort, even those who are not celiac. So follow me here for a second. Maybe there's something in our food system that's added to either the processing or even the growing process of gluten-containing grains that are the issue. For example, Roundup, which is a weed killer that's used in commercial agriculture. Maybe that's the culprit. What I know for sure is, now I sound like Oprah, but what I do know for sure is that there's a lot of work to be done to understand why gluten-containing grains affect some non-celiac people and why they don't affect others. So I think the research needs to, we need to see more on that. What I would recommend is maybe taking foods like wheat out of your diet for a little bit, and for 2 to 3 weeks, and then put it back in and see if you notice any difference. That's a great way to test, and that's sort of my approach. I'm thinking here for a second, because I'm like, where do I want to take you next with this? For some individuals, you'll notice that you feel completely fine. And with my husband, for example, he does not have celiac disease, and yet wheat really bothers him. It gives him massive heartburn to the point where he has to sleep upright, and he's coughing up acid, which is a very uncomfortable feeling. So for him, we were able to identify that it's not actually gluten, because he can have rye and barley, but it's actually something in the wheat for him that's causing him an issue. So in this mass confusion around should people be gluten-free or not, it's really important to just test the different foods that you eat on a regular basis to see how they agree with you. So no, I don't think everybody needs to take gluten out of their diet. I do think it's good to test yourself by eliminating it for a couple of weeks and then adding it back in the form of maybe a piece of bread or creamed wheat, something like that, to see how your body reacts to it. So those are just a couple of thoughts. I want to see if there's anything else that I wanted to mention to you about that. Yeah, so one of the things that you can think about going forward is just about different foods and how they make you feel. There might not be a need to label, that I need to be gluten-free or else I don't feel good. It's really good to just, or dairy-free, for example. It's just really good to take those foods out of your diet for a bit, Give your body a chance to kind of rest from having them in your system, and then put them back in and do your own experiment on yourself. So just a little message I wanted to share today. I'm really thrilled that you followed along with me to the end. And if you have any questions, please always feel free to leave me a message. I get to like beyond the belief when I can be of help and support to others. So thanks. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.